When you're playing a game of chess with the white pieces and your opponent decides to be annoying and play the French defense, it can be a bit tricky, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Well, in this video, I'm going to show you how I outsmarted a 1742 rated opponent on chess.com with a little tricky response of my own to the French defense. Let's hop into it. So if you don't know, now you know, the French defense starts with e4, e5. Now, people can play like d4. This is like the main line, the normal variation, right? And you can play the exchange French by taking in the center, or the advanced French, right? Now, personally, I've never studied either of those, so I hate doing that. Instead, my cat. Instead, I like to play this move b3. Now, b3 is tricky, and black probably has never really seen it before, especially if you're fairly low rated, right? They're probably used to people wanting to take the center with d4, but you play b3, all of a sudden they don't know what to do. So they're like, okay, I'll play d5 like I normally do. And then you hit them with bishop b2. They take, thinking, okay, well, I just get a free pawn. What are you doing? What are you doing? Well, guess what I'm doing? I'm playing knight c3. Knight c3 aims to win back the pawn, obviously. And now check out the position. Black has wasted a ton of moves pushing these pawns. The light squared bishop, the French bishop, is stuck, right? And there are just no pieces out. None of these pieces have moved. Whereas white, we got two pieces out already. We're chilling. This dark squared bishop is going to be great throughout the game, and we'll see that. Black plays knight f6, which defends the pawn on e4, so I can't take it right now, which is quite sad. However, I am able to play queen e2, which threatens again to win back my pawn, which I so badly desire. Now here, black can play moves like knight c6, and then taking this pawn is actually not the best, because there's like knight d4 stuff you have to worry about. But anyway, like for example, knight d4, and if you want to like take that, well then now you're in a bit of trouble, because your rook is hanging, your king's stuck in the center. That's going to be a check when he takes the rook, and your knight is hanging. I mean, yeah, you can take that with check, but I mean, it's still weird, right? It's still like your rook is hanging, and you're like, okay, I played this opening for what? Now my bishop is locked in, and this is just not what you want. Anyway, queen e2, black here doesn't know what to do. And black plays bishop d7, which is not good. You see the eval bar go back in white's favor. Now, why is that? Well, it's too passive, right? It's just too passive. I mean, the light squared bishop needed to wait, right? You played e6. The light squared bishop doesn't want to go to d7 right now. You need to get your knights out, your bishop out, your dark squared bishop, and castle your king, right? Forget this pawn. It's dying. Well, black did forget it, because I take it. We trade in the center, but now look at this position. I got my dark squared bishop staring at the g7 pawn. This dark square bishop can't move right now, and that pawn can't move, right? And my queen is beautiful in the center of the board. I'm gonna get my light squared bishop out, castle long, launch and attack. This is amazing. This is beautiful. All right, now bishop c6. Okay, yeah, I gotta move my queen. Now here, I should have played something like queen e3, you know, just going back, chilling a little bit. Maybe going, you know, bishop e7, and you play something just knight f3, castles, bishop d3, and you have a beautiful position. Now you got both bishops staring at the black king, who is quaking in his boots. And, you know, black isn't really going to take this, because then, I mean, you get the, oof, can you imagine? That's terrible. I know the eval says 0.2 for white, but I mean, that's only if black plays perfectly. Everything else is going to be plus 1.5, plus 2. Anyway, we go back. Instead of queen e3, you know, I went queen g4, which is still fine. I mean, it's equal here according to the engine, but I mean, who would you really prefer if you were playing this game? The bishop and the queen very active here, or black not really knowing what's going on? I mean, the center is kind of taken, but I'm gonna play d4 at some point, and like, what are your knight can't come out? What's going on? Black doesn't know. Black is confuzzled. I aimed to confuzzle black with this b3 French opening, right? So anyway, I play queen g4. Now the reason that's not as great is because after castles, knight f6, you know, the queen gets booted around a little bit. So I go back to g3, keeping an eye on my g2 pawn so that I can move my light squared bishop when I have to. Now the knight jumps into e4, which, you know, it's not great. It's not great, because the knight, I mean, the knight just moved twice already, and now you're just, you know, one move attack on the queen trying to get something. But I just go queen e3 now, and your knight's looking a little silly. It's pretty loose in the center of the board, only defended by the bishop here on c6. Not much going on for the knight. So, bishop c5 after I play queen e3, which you see is already not looking too great for black. Not looking too great. Why is that? Well, the reasoning is d4. d4 is kind of a slap in the face. You saw my cat earlier? Imagine that cat slapping black in the face here. The bishop has to go somewhere. The top move apparently is bishop b4, but I mean, what else are you going to do? Black admits their mistake. They go back to e7. All right. Now I have a beautiful pawn in the center that's probably going to want to launch to d5 and sever the connection between the bishop and the knight and, you know, open up the position because the king is still stuck in the center. So let's see how this unfolds. Knight f3, just developing my knight, solidifying the pawn in the center, and just getting pieces into the game, right? I can't just play a game with a queen, a bishop, and a pawn, right? I need an actual knight here. And, you know, this bishop has to come out as well. So, black castles. I play knight e5. This is looking great. I'm happy with this. I'm quite content with this position. My knight went knight f3, knight e5, and now is just in black's face saying, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about it? Well, black says, I'm going to make a mistake and play queen d5. It's plus 4.2. Oh man, queen d5. What a terrible move. It's bad for so many reasons. Now, the main one is this move c4, which I did not play. I thought about it, but not deep enough. c4, the queen has to go somewhere, right? Let's say it goes to a5. The only other option, really, I mean, it could maybe go here, but then, you know, you're going c5, and this is not great. So anyway, queen a5, let's say, and not d5, excuse me. You get, what was the move? It was not d5. Knight takes c6, right? That's the whole point. Takes, lose the knight. Remember earlier I said the knight was just kind of floating loose in the center, only defended by the bishop there? Yeah, comes back to haunt black, right? Because the second that dark square bishop falls off the board, the knight is there to die, right? c4 dislodges the queen, and after queen a5, you know, just knight takes c6, and you win the knight. And this is just bad news bears for black. My cat is back. Hello. Say hi, Jasper. Are you gonna say hi? No, you're just gonna put your paw on the mic? That works. All right, let's go in your tree, okay? All right, he's gonna keep doing that, by the way. Anyway, this is just beautiful for white. You got the bishop, you got the queen, you got the light square bishop out, you got the rook lifting easily. You got pawns can launch forward if they like. Sure, black has the open b file. Who cares? Who cares? White has everything else that I just pointed out a moment ago. We get something like queen takes a2. Okay. I'm not scared. I'm just going to go bishop d3. Threaten checkmate. So you can't take on b3. No. You have to block the checkmating threat. Now look at these dark squares. Oh my goodness, now I got h4, h5 coming with the rook. Gonna red open the black king here. So bishop back to c2 is the top move. You defend the pawn on b3. And, you know, the rook may come out of the center. And this is a funny line that I looked at with the engine here, is you just allow the check and you walk your king all the way to the center of the board. Just walking to the other side, you have this beautiful center that's not going anywhere, and you're still just threatening to shred this open with your pawns, and the rook is still lifting. It's insane. You get something like a5 and just rook d3, and this is just over. You go queen h4, and the rook is coming over. It's dead. The game is dead. Black is dead. It's all over. However, we go back. That was a long tangent, because that's what I should have done. Instead, you know, you blame a guy, he attacks the knight. I mean, you know, f3, you attack the knight, kick it out of the center, and then you play bishop d3, right? This was my thought, is, hey, I'm going to kick the knight out of the center, solidify my claim here to the center of the board, and just bring out my bishops and be very, very happy. And maybe play c4 after. Now, we get knight f5, which is just a terrible move. It loses the game. Now it's plus 5.7 for white. Black should have played something like bishop f6, you know, just trying to get the bishop a bit more active, doing a little something, but just black got a little antsy and saw, oh, I can attack the queen! I can attack the queen! Yeah, and it's terrible. Do you see the tactic? Do you see the tactic? The queen x-rays to the bishop. Oh, but the bishop's defended by the knight. Yeah, but what if you take the knight? You take the knight. Okay, but I still don't see how this is... oh. This is similar to the other line we looked at earlier. The knight takes the bishop and another piece is hanging, except instead of the knight on e4, it's the bishop in the back here. So after takes, I'm just up a piece. And now it's just easy, right? The rook comes out, whatever. I bring the queen over. The reason I choose g5 is because if I push the pawn, then I'm threatening checkmate, which happens a bit later. And so the rook comes down. I don't care. I don't care. I bring my rook. He brings his rook. I take his rook. He takes my rook. And I push h4, right? I'm just like, screw this. Throw my pawns. I'm going to checkmate you. I don't care. I'm up a bishop, and that bishop is a god who can apparently travel the dark and light squares. Now, there's d5. Like I said, I'm threatening checkmate. f6. Okay, I take the pawn. He takes my pawn. Don't really care. In comes g4. Trying to shred it all open, right? And we get, queen c5. Here I say, okay, just go back to d3. The reason is like, yeah, I could take now and go into this. I didn't feel like it in the moment. I just felt like attacking the rook first, just cause. Then I take. And then takes. And here it's just, he resigned here because it's hopeless. The king has to move. And then, I'm just going to take on c7. And then sure, he can win one of my pawns. But, rook a7. I've got 3 passers connected and a bishop. And the king is stuck on the back. This is just over. This is just game over. So yeah, if you want to win against the French, play something obscure. I mean, play something like sound that's not like, like h4 or something, but like play something obscure, like b3, that your opponent may not have seen before. Prepare a little bit and just be ready to rip their head off. Hey, if you made it to the end of the video, just real quick, want to say thank you. Check out one of these other videos. They're floating around on the screen somewhere, and have a great day, guys.